Kate, thank you for joining us for our PR Masterclass series. So far, we've been telling our businesses why they should do PR, how they should write a press release. But you, as a working journalist for 30 years, what we want to know now is before they hit that send button, what are those key do's and don'ts and things that you'd be looking out for?
Well, the first thing is the press release you're sending me relevant? Do you know what I write about? Do you know what I don't write about? Do you know what I've written about recently? So, for example, if I've just done a column on Internet of Things security, I'm probably not going to be interested in another Internet of Things story for a while. But then I talk about security more generally, so yes, I might be interested in security. So it's about being intelligent about who you're talking to. And I'd say one of the other things is to build up a relationship with the journalists you want to get to know. I mean, seriously, get to know us. We don't have the time we used to have because the news cycle is pretty relentless. But it's no harm in chatting to us on Twitter from time to time, or saying hi if we see each other at an event. Mm-hmm. So it's about getting to know me, getting to know my colleagues, getting to know who we are and what we're interested in.
So you talked there a little bit about building relationships. I think we've pretty much established that picking up the phone and trying to speak to a journalist is a big no-no. As you said, you haven't got enough time. So to build a relationship with you or one of your colleagues, where would you say are the best places to do that and how?
For me personally, actually, probably Twitter. I'm on Twitter. I talk a lot about what's going on in the world of tech, about what's going on in the world of politics. I'm quite chatty. I'm quite responsive. Follow me. Keep an eye on what I'm talking about. If you've got something relevant or funny to say it. I'll probably respond. I don't promise I will, but I probably will. And that's not the same for everybody, but that works for me, for example. I value my friendships. I make friendships. And the best PR relationships I've had are with people I've become, if not best buddies with, then at least people I have a rapport with and an affinity with and who know what I'm doing.
One of the things we've spoke about a lot previously is trying to fit into your schedule. So just talk me through kind of, 9 a.m., you've got your morning coffee, you open your inbox. What is it you're looking for? How are you assessing the news agenda and how are you assessing the stories you're going to fit into your day?
I do it in a very intuitive way because I've been doing it for a long time. I can look through my inbox and see if anything's relevant. I'm really impatient with irrelevant stuff and I hate being added to emailing lists. So if I'm getting irrelevant press releases from an agency I don't know about stuff that's not relevant, I'm going to send them a really sharp email saying, take me off this emailing list. But if it's interesting and relevant, then yeah, I'm going to follow up. And that goes back to what I was saying before about get to know me, get to know what I write about, what I'm interested in, what my push buttons are, if you like. And if you're doing that, also, I can't stand just a press release landing in my inbox. I want to know why you sent that to me.
Yep.
Why you think it's relevant to me. Do I care that your chief exec is in town and you need to get some journalist interviews? No, I actually don't. But if your chief exec's got something interesting to say that you think might feed into a column I'm doing, then pitch me on that. Say, hey Kate, I know you don't usually do this, but we've got Fred coming into town from the Valley. He can talk about, I know you're interested in IoT security. He's really hot on that. He's got something interesting to say. Here's what he's got to say. Do you want to meet him? And I'll come back to you pretty quickly going, yeah, actually that might be really useful, or no thanks, not this time.
Yeah.
So I respond pretty quickly. I think one of the other key things is, if you haven't got a response, don't phone somebody saying, did you get my press release?
Right.
Because that is just beyond infuriating. If you really think something's relevant and you really think they've missed it, for me, a tweet.
Yeah.
But again, get to know the people you want to deal with regularly and find out how they like to be asked. Some people might prefer a text, some people might prefer a DM.
Yeah, totally.
Getting to know people.
Yeah, of course. And you've worked in-house for a publication. You've also worked freelance. Do you think there's a big difference to whether you send your press release at, say, 8:30 a.m. or 8:30 p.m.? Do you think there's a timing issue?
There is always a timing issue. Back into the old days of just print deadlines, it used to be much easier to get those issues right because the end of the day was deadlines when news desks started wanting copy to arrive from after lunch through to tea time. These days it's a much more relentless thing, and I think you have to get to know the rhythm of each person. There isn't really a good time. I can tell you a really bad time is towards the end of the day.
Right, okay.
It's not going to get attention towards the end of the day unless it's absolutely massive.
Like big news.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you've received a press release. You think it's got a catchy headline. You've opened it up. What are your top do's that you look for inside a press release to ensure that you think someone knows what they're doing?
A top part that tells you what the story is. Don't bury it in verbiage. Understanding of the issues behind the story. So if you're going to pitch me on data security, I want to know about whether it's maybe compliant with Privacy Shield, whether it applies to GDPR. I want to know that you know what you're talking about and what I'm interested in. So no verbiage. I don't want a load of images. I don't want embargoes. Embargoes are generally useless and pointless. I just want information where I can see it immediately, preferably actually in the subject line, because I'm just going to do a very quick scan of my inbox.
Yeah.
You've got to catch my attention before I actually open the email.
And on the flip side of that, Kate, after opening hundreds of press releases, you've probably got a few pet hates as well.
Yeah. My pet hates are, as I say, embargoes, because they're usually useless unless it's a really major piece of news, say tied to, I don't know, a stock launch or something, then they're useless. Loads of images attached to it. I do want to see images. I don't want giant PDFs in my inbox. I want to see small thumbnails of images, and if I want decent images for publication, I'll ping you and say, can I have a high res of that one? I don't want incremental announcements. I actually want stories. I don't want things that don't pass what I call the Mandy Rice-Davis test. They would say that, wouldn't they? Yeah. If it doesn't pass that test, it's not news. It's a bit like the weatherman saying there's going to be weather today. That does not pass the Mandy Rice-Davis test. So in my inbox, I want relevant. I want immediately obvious what it is, and I want it really clear and straightforward. And I also want to find out that if you're offering me a spokesman, I want that spokesman to be available that day. I don't want to come to you and say, yes, can I speak to the analyst? And he's actually not available, or he's on the West Coast. That's no good to me. Yeah, I want what you promised me. I want you to be able to deliver what you promised me.
Yeah, completely. Okay, so finally, any top tools that you think journalists are using or businesses could be using to help aid their public relations?
For me, I like Twitter. I hang out on Twitter a lot. It's a really important place for me to keep up with what's happening in my world of news, and more broadly in the world of news. I get to know people there. I make friends there. Also, I'm quite old-fashioned. I actually like email because you can triage an inbox. It's not like an IM or a WhatsApp when somebody knows you've read it and you haven't got back to them. There isn't that pressure. I hate being phoned. My voicemail says, don't leave me a message. But I'm happy with you SMSing me. Basically anything that's asymmetrical, that, you can send it to me and I can deal with it in my own time.
Okay, and finally, your top tips to get noticed.
Be brief, be relevant, be aware of who I am and what I do. And if you know who I am and what I do and you're offering something relevant, then I'm going to come back to you.
I think that's a great summary of what we've talked about. Thank you very much for your time, and I think we've got some great tips that we can all be thinking about today, tomorrow, but very soon when we write our next press release.
Right. That's helpful.
Thanks.